20 years ago, I was told by one of our nation's leading climate scientists that my world would change. And he said if I wanted to see for myself, all I'd have to do was follow the water. That's what I've done for the better part of 2 decades now. As a fly fishing guide, I spend the majority of my time rowing, drifting, waiting. And I have seen it change. I've never forgotten his suggestion, and now I feel the pull to take it literally, to follow a drop of water from the very top all the way to the ocean. I know the planet is in peril. This trip will be one that looks for solutions in action. I want to meet the people whose lives are built around the water and see what they're doing to fight for the earth they love. To begin, I went to reconnect with that scientist. I wanted to revisit our conversation from so many years ago and glean some knowledge to take with us as we follow our drop downstream. Meet Dr. Dan Faegre.
My classified title is research ecologist, but we call ourselves mountain scientists, cryospheric scientists, physical scientists, so we're a number of different kinds of scientists. Been a bit surprised that I've lived through some of the changes that we projected. Our snowpacks have been in a 50-year decline. Melt is initiated early, up to 3 weeks earlier. A lot of the water that, say, a rafting company, fly fishing guiding company would have has already gone past before the tourists even arrive. If you are warming up earlier and the melt is coming earlier, the trees start growing earlier. The trees are now using up more of the water, and now you have potential for more fuel-driving forest fires. You take all of these things together, and there are what we call cascading ecological effects. There are lots of tiny little changes going in this ecosystem, but sometimes they're hard to measure. And so whether we're looking at tiny little alpine plants like this, or you're looking at a drop's journey to the Pacific Ocean, these are the things that help us understand the bottom of the process, if you will. One of the things we found is that many things that are going on in this ecosystem scale up. And so you have to look at the small processes in order to see how the big ones occur.
Following Dr. Faegre's line of thinking, I was inspired to explore the small processes. This quest starts on the middle fork of the Flathead River, moves downriver through the Flathead to join the Clark Fork River, to Lake Pend Oreille, into the Columbia, and out into the Pacific Ocean. Along the way, we'll meet people living and working close to the water. Can we do what they're doing? It's like Dr. Faegre says, a lot of the processes in our ecosystem scale up. Maybe we can scale up solutions too. To start following the drop from its origin, we decided to set out for the top of the Continental Divide. I called up a guy known for pioneering big mountain lines on his snowboard. He's also known for his quest to mobilize the outdoor industry to solve the climate crisis. Professional snowboarder Jeremy Jones founded the nonprofit Protect Our Winters in 2007 to create a community of athletes, scientists, creatives, and business leaders who would advance nonpartisan policies to protect the planet. Jeremy recognized the scale of these climate problems early on, and he knew then that it would take a mass movement of nature lovers to effect positive change.
So it's really cool to think we're on the top of the Continental Divide, and this snow here that we're standing on, this melts, goes into the rivers, out to the ocean, and you think of how many people's lives have been shaped around this water that starts here. Can't remember, is it like 9 and 12, 1 and 5, 10 and 2? Now what do I know? That was awesome. I I founded Protect Our Winters in 2007. I realized that the outdoor, specifically the winter sports industry, was not doing anything on climate. I by no means was this climate expert, but my life revolved around the snow. I was in the snow all the time. I was seeing changes to the snow. It coincided with what scientists were telling us. I kept trying to talk myself out of it, and then I remember writing on a piece of paper, together we can protect our winters. That together was key. And fast forward, 10, 12 years, and one of the things I'm most proud of is that I'm just a spoke in the wheel, that it's taken on its own life form. That's what I'm most proud of, that it's this group, and it is truly this group effort.
There's strength in numbers. Jeremy has seen this through his work with Protect Our Winters. My friend Rachel Schmidt saw it too, through her past role as director of the Montana Governor's Office of Outdoor Recreation, and Rachel's dedication to looking at the numbers behind the outdoor rec economy is part of a growing trend of states that are seeing the real economic value in protecting wild places.
This is my office. I like to be surrounded by maps. Montana and other states have made a very conscious decision to say, hey, outdoor recreation is about way of life and it's about economic vitality. And we're talking big numbers too. We're talking 5.1% of Montana's economy. What supports that? Our rivers, our access points, our healthy habitat. We all love to talk about the big fish we catch. So around the conversation of recreation, we can find these common threads in our lives to establish more connectivity to have productive conversations. There's so much potential for positive impact. I just feel like the sky's the limit.
Downriver still is the confluence of the Flathead and Clark Fork rivers. Here we fished with Rick Crawford, founder of Emerger Strategies. Rick is a sustainable business consultant who guides companies toward carbon neutral and zero waste operations.
My vision is to help the fly fishing industry go carbon neutral. I think that fly fishing is a small of enough industry that you can more quickly right this ship. But I also think it's important to prove first that it can be done. So if we can have a smaller industry that does it, then other industries will want to catch on. Say, well, if the fly fishing industry can do it, well, why can't surfing? Why can't climbing? Why can't any outdoor recreation? To be fortunate enough to have these experiences that we have as anglers, and to not do everything that you could to protect it for future generations is irresponsible, and in my mind now as a father, unacceptable. The way that I found sort of my voice, I guess, is and my little way to try and do what I can is to help businesses, because I don't think that we're going to end capitalism anytime soon. So if we can do it better, let's do that. Let's go carbon neutral.
Really good day today. We went from Montana, Idaho to Washington State. We fished water in all 3 states. We caught no fish. I'm gonna lie to my wife. When she asks how many fish we caught, I'll be like, a lot. Tons, actually. Yeah, don't ever let the fishing get in the way of a good fishing trip.
Drop after drop, past dam after dam, we make our way to Wenatchee, just upstream in Leavenworth, Washington. That's where Russ Ricketts lives. Russ grew up fishing. But he watched the number of steelhead and salmon decline year after year, so he decided to stop.
Here, come here. Look at this. Watch this. These are big fish. And watch what happens here. Like, look at this little pink salmon come in here and get in and amongst these 30-pound fish. You ever see that movie Twins with Danny DeVito? And here's DeVito and there's Schwarzenegger. That is a proud fish. Like, that is a really big fish. I've always equated fishing to being like, we're going hunting with a rifle, and you say, that looks like a likely spot for an animal. I'll just shoot right there, and maybe I'll catch it, maybe I'll kill something. Fishing's like a pursuit for dreamers, and there's this eternal optimism with fishing. And at a certain point, maybe that optimism wanes a little bit. I kind of had like some seminal moments where I started to go farther afield up into the mountains and get up into the headwaters. There hasn't been fishing on the Wenatchee River in any real sense. Like, there was 1 year where they fished for steelhead in the last 25 years. So steelhead are endangered, spring chinook are endangered, bull trout are endangered. And it became like, ooh, cool, film a fish, to wait a minute. The realization hit that these fish are going extinct. It became a little bit more of a mission at that point. Snorkeling is the diametric opposite of fishing. There's not that eternal optimism. You see everything. I just get in there and I take a look around. And oh, well, I know exactly what's here now. And a lot of times what's exactly there is exactly nothing. You start to ask questions like, why isn't there any fish? And that's the moment where you turn from a user to kind of a steward of that resource. There's this incredible knowledge base that fishermen build up. And it seems like the inverse is true with snorkeling. The more I do it, the less I know. Or the more I realize I don't know. And so in that way, it's a pretty cool journey that you just get dumber the farther you go along. This whole thing about the watershed, right? So a watershed is kind of it tells the story of that place. The river tells the story. To think about your watershed as this great accumulator. It refines and concentrates all the good and all the bad. It's pretty easy to see how we are bound by our rivers.
The drop introduced me to many inspiring people, but among them are those with whom I feel wildly connected, the guides. As a fly fishing guide, I've wondered if even being here is too hard on the environment, and the fly fishing guides we met on the drops journey share a lot of my sentiment. But they also remind me that we have an important role out here as stewards, teachers, and role models. Guests from all over the world are looking to us to lead, to actually guide in applying the science-backed solutions we've learned. And we have the opportunity and the responsibility to report back to the people who can enact policy to protect it.
Thread the needle. Whoa, got him? Yes. Oh, shit. Hell yeah, Jake. Damn. On the Oregon coast, we're seeing the effects of climate change as our rains come later in the fall. When they do come, they're more extreme. And we've had several years of really dry winters. As a guide, I'm very open with my guests about the issues facing our fisheries and those threats. definitely feel like it's my duty to share that with our guests that are coming to experience this fishery, this resource. It's important that they know that these places don't exist without people like us fighting back.
If you don't help people see and know, understand and love these secret little spots, they will disappear. They will be taken from us because not enough people cherish that to stand up and protect it. Yeah, I totally think that every single person that comes in that door is a next or new or continuing conservationist.
I consider that real important in guiding, is to show people the proper etiquette and just, the proper way to respect it, because, it might not be here forever. That Columbia River is just an amazing highway, it would have been amazing to see what it was before the dams, with unbelievable fish runs, just to really see that migration happen all the way from the ocean all the way in. It's pretty cool. This is where they come by. This is it. And so we are right exactly where the Columbia River hits the Pacific Ocean.
I think the best way that I'm able to show people why you'd want to care about it is because I care about it, right? I'm passionate about it and I want to pass this on. So I look at myself as, if I'm able to be a steward, why can't someone else be a steward also? If you're ever in a position where you actually can show others that you're the example, right? Lead by the example.
I used to give a human persona to my home water, but after following the drop from the top of the Continental Divide to the Pacific Ocean, I've altered this a bit. Now, it's more about the humans embodied as a river made of important drops, where we can be powerful together. Whether we come from the headwaters, tailwaters, glaciers and snowfields, ponds, back eddies and sloughs, we meet at today's confluence to save each other and ourselves.